Welcome, sled heads, to the Edmonton Sled Show. And look who I found in the Lynx booth. It's none other than Jason Ribi. Jason Ribi, how's it going?
It's good, Dave. What do you know?
And you were super busy yesterday. The lone man in the Lynx booth, running everything.
In the Lynx booth. Yeah, answering all the questions. Everybody wants to know what's the change, what's the difference, what's the new thing coming with Lynx this year. And so, yeah, obviously lots going on, and excited for the season to come, and excited to see people and be back in Edmonton.
Sweet. So for the few 1% that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about where you live and what you do for a living with CKMP.
So I'm obviously Jason Ribi out of Interior BC, live in Sicamous, guide at Carl Kuster Mountain Park, and been there for 10 years plus now. So we're getting on, and I've been an enthusiast of the sport for a long time, and kind of came out of the ski side of things is what got me going. And man, it's hard to want to do anything but ride sleds nowadays. They're so good, right?
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the Lynx product for 2023. I know last year there was sort of 2 models. Now it looks like there's 3 models.
Yeah, so we're kind of getting into a little bit more dedicated. This would be kind of our crossover, and honestly, you're going to have to hit up Colt 801 for all the info on these two. He's kind of our trail ambassador, and he knows way more about this stuff than I do. I'm just going to smoke and mirrors you through for like 2 minutes here. So this being more of like a crossover kind of snowmobile, does a little bit of off-trail stuff, and also pretty on-trail capable from my understanding. Like I said, I have pretty much next to 0 seat time on them. And then this one, again, being a little shorter, I think a 137 would be the 3500, and a little bit more just trail-oriented sled.
And Colt will also tell you how to run a really smooth mustache.
He'll tell you how to run the best mustache. I actually have envy over that mustache some days. I should try and grow my own, but I don't think it would compare. So, I don't know.
And this is your bread and butter. So this is the sled you're going to be riding, have been riding, and are going to be riding for this year. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so big changes this year for us in the mountain segment for sure. Went to the Gen 5 platform with these sleds. Narrowed up the track. We got turbos in them this year. 185 horse out of them, and so it's definitely a really big step up, and really excited for the season and how these things perform on snow. I definitely got a bunch of time on them last season at the end of it, and I mean, you couldn't be happier with a machine like this, right?
So tell us a little bit about a 15-inch, fully rigid, fully rod track.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's definitely holds a smooth straight line without T-motion in a skid frame that's fixed in the rear, and it's a very predictable rear suspension. Also with this, I get a lot, that's one of the main questions. Well, what's different? What's different than a Skidoo or the comparable mountain sled, right? And it really boils down to me for the feel of the snowmobile and the ride of it, and you get a lot out of the skid frame on this snowmobile. It's a lively, active suspension. It likes the input you put into it. It transfers nicely with your body movement. And so I kind of think it caters to that aggressive rider style nicely, but I mean it'll fit for everyone in the nutshell, right? But it definitely handles that active ride really well, and it works well in that context.
The suspension feels stiffer through the rear end. Would that be accurate?
It's stiffer, and it's easier to load and unload it. It's a nice poppy feel to the suspension, the way you can kind of step over things and as you're riding along through it. And also, obviously, coming out of Finland where there's no real groomed trails, it's kind of designed around being good at handling rough trail and getting into places, and then doing everything you want once you're there, right? So it's pretty cool sled, and definitely, like I said, now with the turbos in them and shaving a bunch of weight out of these things, couldn't be a better sled for the season. I'm pretty stoked for sure.
Yeah, you've got to be pretty happy because you've come from the riding Skidoo sleds and riding with the turbo, and then last year having no turbo, and loving that Lynx, and now you're kind of, I would say, back where you would love to be, or anybody would love to be, with more horsepower, but the equal of the rigid frame, track, all that stuff that sort of suits your style.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's always been up and down with the turbos. I'm totally happy riding any of them, and I like the challenge of snowmobiling. I spent, over 100 days in the backcountry every winter for the last 15 years of my life, and more. So sometimes the challenge of non-turbo sleds is just as fun as riding the turbos and what you can do with them as well. So I don't think it has to be the end all be all that turbos are mandatory, right? They're absolutely not. But it sure now, especially with the extra horsepower in them, it's another step again where they're just a super fun sled all around.
Okay, lastly, give us your top 3 of your favorite 3 things in order from best to third place on this snowmobile.
Oh, favorite top 3 things? Well, obviously, turbo. We're gonna have to go with the turbo and 185 horse. What can you say bad about that? I love that they really went super minimalist. They just get rid of the weight, get rid of the stuff we do not need, right? And so that motive and that direction is 100% the way I wanted it to go. And then also with the skid frame, like it's a really fun sled to ride. It has a really nice lively feel, and it takes a lot. And it's I don't think there would be anybody, everyone's, oh, am I going to like it? Absolutely, you're going to like it. They're a great sled. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. And for those who were not at the show and their sled hasn't arrived at the dealer, here's a nice visual for you. But Jason, thanks so much
Have a
for joining us.
Good winter, everybody.